This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
This is El Guerrero Cuervo coming to you with Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show with Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Playoff One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with El Guerrero Cuervo.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
How are you, Guerrero?
Good. Good to yourself?
I am good as well. Can you tell us where the murder is coming next?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Can you tell us where the murder is coming next?
Oh, well, the murder hopefully will follow me this Saturday. I'm at an event over at Riverside for EWF, and as well as for Sunday at Global Lucha Libre over at Escondido here in California. And then in June, hopefully something will be announced then, but I'll be back in my lovely home in Hawaii and wrestle for United Championship Entertainment.
Alright, and where can we find you on social media and merchandise?
So, you can find me on Twitter at @Cuervo_92. IG as well. You can spot me there. You can put my name, El Guerrero Cuervo. I'll pop up there, El Guerrero Cuervo 12 is my, I guess you say, the handle. And you can just spot me up on Facebook as well. Merchandise-wise, currently still working on the website for you guys to get your hands on some official Cuervo merchandise. But that's will be later announced on my Twitter, IG, and Facebook once that is released.
Alright, and links to all your social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, now you mentioned it, you work for Unified Wrestling Entertainment. Can you tell us about your relationship with the company?
Unified Wrestling Entertainment?
Yes, the one in Hawaii.
Championship. Oh, the one in Hawaii. Unified Championship Entertainment. So yes, Oos Wrestling.
Yes.
Yes. So I've been there for quite a while, because before that I was actually in Japan, right, with Ryukyu Dragon, and I came to Hawaii to wrestle for Oos, and it's been a good experience there so far.
I feel like like you said, you came from Japan.
Yes.
Hawaii is another one of those places where fighting spirit is very much a thing. So I feel like that would translate well for you, no?
Yeah. For that experience, I think it did very well. Like I was fortunate enough to train under Gurukin Mask, Ryukyu Dog Dingo up in Okinawa. So it's an island life, and then the culture is so rich in there. So Hawaii is the same thing. Obviously, the Rocks family, the big Samoan family there in Hawaii. And so now I'm with Aleki Lee and Rain over there at the Wild Samoan Center there too. So it translates really well. They both have very hard working mentality, and so, and then me going there, the same environment. They want some good wrestling there. So it was very easy to transition to Hawaii when moving there.
Was there any like cultural differences when it came to the wrestling style?
Yeah. So when in Japan, their style is actually very similar to Mexican style in a way, like the lucha libre.
Yeah.
And so their style there is very they at least when I started training over there, they did both left side and right side and all this movements and stuff like that in regards to how you're supposed to move in the ring. So they are very similar to that in that aspect. You know, also you can see the mask. A lot of wrestlers definitely and in Okinawa, the island specifically, and they just like the masks. You know, they have the same mindset lucha libre. You know, that's just the warrior mindset, and so that's just like our projected character to everybody. And Hawaii is more like very heavy, like very on the American side. You know, like very universal in a way. So it's knowing your opponent, taking their time, pacing yourself. Not only be a high pro effective opponent with your opponent, but at the same time, can you tell the story well? Can you move the crowd? Can you bring the crowd in? Japan was more focused in the ring. I feel like American style and the way that does universally is more like, hey, we got the work in the ring, but at the same time, can you bring in the crowd? So it's a difference, but not a big difference. But I guess you can say culturally different wise, yes.
Interesting.
And the fact that they speak English in Hawaii and in Japan, I had to learn the language to communicate. Had to learn the language to communicate them, because we also wrestle with some Taiwanese wrestlers. So even that's another layer of languages I had to learn as well to communicate. But fairly enough, they were very they trying to learn English with me, and I tried to speak to them in Japanese. So it was like kind of like 50-50. So it was always good. I never had a bad experience with them, with any Japanese wrestler that I've been out there for, wrestle for.
All I could say is, yoroshiku no onegaishimasu.
Arigato. But
how, if I could ask,
yes.
how do you go from Japan to Hawaii? Because I feel like there's a big gap in distance between those two countries.
So when I was in Okinawa, I was there for work, different reasons and all, and I was not really in the pro wrestling scene at the time. So I went out there and just decided one day, I want to be a pro wrestler. I was always been a fan, and my grandfather was also a pro wrestler in Puerto Rico. So it's like it's always been in the family in a way, but I just never pursued it due to life. And so one random day I decided, like, you know what, I want to be a wrestler. And so I found Ryukyu Dragon and met Brian Cannon, or Ryukyu Dog Dingo when he's known over there. And we hit it off. I was a fan for about 2 years, and then he brought up an opportunity of being a part of a faction. And so he trained me alongside Kurukin Mask and Hibiscus Me. And I actually started my wrestling adventures in Japan. Was there for like 3 years. No, actually, I started wrestling there for like roughly 3 years, but I was in Japan for 6. And I was like, you know what? To better my wrestling, I have to learn more. And so the best way to do is come back, go to the United States and do the same. And Hawaii, I love the island life because I was in Okinawa. I was like, Hawaii will give me that niche of the island life, but at the same time, give me the influence of American style wrestling, if that makes sense.
So essentially, this is somewhat of an excursion for you.
I'm sorry, say it again.
This is somewhat of an excursion for you, going out of Japan to other countries.
Yeah, it's a journey. One thing I did get from the niche that I got from starting professional wrestling was I want to learn more, and I want to be obviously like anybody else, if not the best. So I don't think you can really be the best without knowing all styles, because definitely jumping between Hawaii, Japan, and also California. There's so many wrestling styles out there, so I wanted to be in a good spot to where I can do both. To jump either if I want to go to Japan, I go to Japan. If I want to come to Cali, I come to Cali, and just learn the style. So now I'm just around just learning styles from everybody. To be honest.
That's awesome. That's something a lot of wrestlers really should do, just to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
Being in Japan for so long, I do have to ask, what was the food like?
Oh, Japanese food, by far, there's no comparison or competition to it. I love Japanese food. Sushi, like, it's crazy. Come to Hawaii and come to California, you pay like what, $60, $70 to have all you can eat sushi or whatever the case may be. And then, to be honest, some of the sushi is good, some of the sushi is not. But in Japan, you go to a spot. My little favorite spot was like a little small. I don't say hole in one. It's a franchise called Hamazushi. And it was like 99 yen, or the 99 yen to 100 yen was roughly runs. I like to do like equivalent like a dollar a plate, and like instead of spending $60, only eating like probably $10 or $20 worth. You're paying as you eat. It's cheap, obviously, because it's made there. All kinds of noodles. You got was it ramen, udon, and you got the different style soups, miso. It's just all the different flavor of ice cream. If you love ice cream, there's outrageous amounts are out there. Like, you go to Cold Stone or whatever to get you go to a Japanese store out there. You go to a Japanese like ice cream shop and you get like variety. That's what made me fall in love with the sweet potato flavor ice cream called Binimu, which I love. It's one of my favorite.
Don't think I've ever even heard of sweet potato ice cream.
Yep. Oh, well, in Okinawa specifically, they love sweet potato. And so, like, even there's a city in Okinawa, I don't know, you can call it like a city, but prefecture, whatever, or a section called Kandina Town. And they make a sweet potato festival, which is literally the theme is sweet potato. So you go out there, you bring your family, whatever the case may be. We usually did wrestling events out there too, so it was fun. I mean, all these different kids, but it's just funny imagining wrestlers trying to go into a pit of dirt and digging out sweet potatoes for a good time with the kids. It's an amazing time. Like, I'll tell you, like, I had probably one of the best memories in my career in professional wrestling, even in my life in general, was in Okinawa, Japan. It was an amazing experience. I always recommend people go out there if they can. Japan is an experience for sure.
Was you able to go to Reba Steaks?
Reaper Steaks.
The big one that all the wrestlers go to.
So I think that's the one in mainland. So my buddy Ryukyu Dog Dingo actually took me there to experience like all the famous wrestlers go there, and luckily I was unable to go, or I was unable to attend because at the time we were there, I guess it wasn't open, and we attempted. I know that would have been an experience. That would have been one experience to be had for sure.
Well, I do have to ask, being in Japan for so long, where was the best ramen? Because I'm a ramen junkie over here.
Oh, that's tough. That's, to be honest, it's like I'm actually not I'm a ramen junkie compared to, like, if that's all you can get in the States. But like when I was in Japan, I was a big udon fan, like the thick noodles, because there's a spot that I remember going to that will make them in front of you, and it was just an amazing experience to see. But ramen, so there is one spot I would probably say in a place called American Village is called Volcano Ramen. A lot of like the military people and like every civilian area, whatever, will go there. It was well known because like they had a spicy level of 1,000, and it was tough. I never did it. I think I tried a noodle or two from that 1,000 spice from my buddy of mine, and I was like, I got lightheaded. It's that strong to where like my lips, everything went numb. It's outrageous. But some people eat it. Like I remember one time one person poured it and it just fumed the area, and I was coughing. It was so hard for me to breathe. Yeah. If you could look it up, I recommend everybody's out there. If anybody's listening in Okinawa, go to Volcano Ramen. Highly recommend if you're a ramen guy. It's a good spot.
Oh. Now, You know, uh, obviously the mask is a big part of lucha libre culture. Can
Yes.
you tell us the significance of yours?
So my as also Cuervo is the Spanish translation of crow, and obviously Guerrero means warrior. So I'm the warrior crow, and the significance of his the it's like an omen. Depending on what culture you go through, that's one thing's been common with the animal, specifically the bird. That bird is it's an omen. It's either good or bad, depending on what you see it, depending on what culture you see it. Like the Vikings thought that was like Odin, you know that was associated to the ravens, Odin oversaw them, and then if you saw the crow, it represents death, or you saw some people represents guardianship. So like one thing that's always been a common theme with them is always an omen, and so that is pretty much this. I am an omen, good or bad, to those that go against me or befriends me. So and the warrior portion obviously because I love to fight. So it's good to have a good challenge and all.
Does the crow have any significance in your life?
The crow specifically, I think it's for me growing up. I think I felt like it was a misunderstood bird. To be honest, it was a very misunderstood bird. Everybody associated the animal with death, and people never took the time to actually really get to know like the at least the animal itself. Like one thing I found very interesting with the animal itself was that if you put a fake crow or if a crow dies, the murder will actually surround. Doesn't matter if it's part of the group or not, will surround this dead crow, and they will weep. And so it's crazy to know that because people associate the animal with like all cemeteries and death, and I get it. You can see probably like Sting back in the day he had his little crow and he was like this guy of darkness, and they used it for that moment. But that animal has actually been it's I feel like it's a very positive animal to my opinion. There's always I think it's a guardian. I can't recall specifically where I read this, but they say one culture believes that the crow helps the spirits to the afterlife.
Hmm.
And so to me, that sounds like a bird, a good bird. You know what I mean? It sounds like a good bird, but I think it's really misunderstood, or at least symbolized wrong in a way because of the black and all the, you know.
Right. Well, that does beg the question: has Cuervo ever seen the crow? The
The
movie.
movie
Yeah.
with Brandon Lee. With Brandon Lee.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. That was one of my favorites growing up. Um, as a kid, never understood the real concept of it. But then when I got older, I revisited the movie with Brandon Lee, and then eventually I think they made not a remake, but like a prequel. I don't know if it's a prequel with a different actor, but it's still Crow, I guess. It was just another Crow movie, but I found that fascinating too. Even then, the Crow guy wasn't even bad. It was a spirit, a vengeful spirit, you know, an omen to the enemies, a bad one to the enemies, and a good one to those that made him in a good way. So there's another omen plug right there.
Oh. Now, being during your time in Japan, you were a part of a group called MDC, Mad Dog Club. Can you tell us about that group and your relationship with those guys?
So Mad Dog Club, it was an amazing experience with them. I feel like when you start the business, you typically have the climb uppings in regards to like you start with no character, you start with nothing, you have to make your way up there. Well, with Mad Dog Club, and because maybe my situation, I was given pretty much the full wrestling experience and treated me right off the bat. And Mad Dog Club had me and accepted me as a family member since the beginning. The leader of the group was Ryukyu Dog Dingo, and funny story about him, like he found me very annoying at first because I was a fan that was persistent, and I guess my persistence paid off when he was trying to form this group. He called me and asked me, "Do I still want to be a pro wrestler?" I was like, "Yes." I was like, "I'm starting this group, and I want to, and I need fresh faces, And at first, I think the group came out to be a Gaijin specific group, So for those that don't know what gaijin is, it's pretty much non-Japanese people.
Foreigners.
So he wanted that, and so yeah, so that's how I started. My relationship with the group now, um, I guess you could say I still represent them if I can. You know, it also depends on the promotion I work for, and depends what they will allow and would not allow. But I still in my heart feel like I'm still a Mad Dog Club member. I talked to Dingo, with him, as a Mad Dog Club member. If I went back to Japan and wrestled alongside him, it will be as a Mad Dog Club member. So that they're my first family, and they will always be my family. I think until I hang up the mask. To be honest.
It's kind of like when Lance Archer went to AEW, people were like, "You're not Suzuki Gun anymore," and he was like, "Well, I am still Suzuki Gun. I'm just not in the same promotion as them. But if they call
Yes.
me, I'm still that. I'm still that guy."
Yes. Yeah. Like, because even Mad Dog Club and I hadn't fallen out. I really didn't see like their way, and then I separated myself. And then when the time came, I got my head straight. Everybody got their head straight. They accept me back, with open arms. Definitely Dingo. Dingo has always been my anchor in this business, and till this day he is. To be honest, I rely on him and Anthony Idol. Some other one that I talked to a lot, a good mentor of mine. So those two are pretty much my knowledge hats when it comes to the business.
How about the Anthony Idol? Love that guy.
Yeah, he's amazing. He better my skills for sure.
Speaking of Dog Dingo, when are you gonna get that match with him?
Whew. He actually, I just saw a post just now that he's back in the ring. For a while he had a condition that would not allow him to wrestle. I'm not familiar with it. It's like a muscle degenerative disease that was like something that was messed up. But he's been going to the stream for years now, and he just today, like, they're in the future technically, so they're ahead of us. But today, he just posted that he had his return match, and I'm not gonna lie, it got me because I'm like, man, now is my time to start planning my match against him, because that's one thing I wanted before leaving Japan was to have a match with him. But unfortunately, due to this condition, I couldn't do so. So it's in my wish list for sure.
I do feel like even when he was healthy, he was ducking you at some points, right?
So he's okay. So I will say put this in this simple mindset on that. Like, he's smart. One thing I did have a big problem, and I think I still have this issue. I have a temper problem, a temper issue. I have a very hot temper, and so, like, I guess like you say, like the Hulk or anybody, like, that's usually when I'm like at peak strength right there, saying I'm angry, but I have no really self-control, and he knows this, and so he was really smart. And when I was going against Mad Dog Club, he never put himself in harm's way when it came with me, because then when I was in temper, but when I cooled down, that's when he took the advantage. We had, I guess we did have a match together technically, but it was against each other, but it was more of like a tag match. But he knows I want a singles one-on-one. So it's to show him that how far I've come. He's a smart one though, to be honest. He's a smart one. He probably gonna try to avoid it until he can, get himself 100 ways, find 100 ways to beat me. But he probably does. He probably has the tricks to do so. But
he's involved in that sneaky style, right?
Yes, I would say he is. He is. But it's not like he relies on it heavily. He's a very smart man.
Right.
So, like, he's an opportunist. That's why I can say, like, he's an opportunist. If he'll wrestle you clean or wrestle you dirty, whatever the case would be, to get on top. But he does do things, then the most part, as clean as possible. I guess is when he panics. I don't know. That's a conversation with him to have with him, to ask him if what he did think about me and think about his style. But I put more of he's more clever. He's smart
Okay,
in the way he wrestles.
noted so. Get Dog Dingo on. Ask him about Cuervo. um, it's not that technically a match, but you did have a very heated game of flip the coin, heads or tails, with a Dog Dingo. No.
Yes,
Now, was that a walk-in coin or a shoot coin?
that was actually a shoe coin,
Oh,
and he lost. He lost. But knowing him, he loved Okinawa. He loved Ryukyu. So that's one thing I always had, even when we were rivals, is or opponents, is that I always have a soft spot for him. You know, because again, realistically, without him, it wouldn't be no Guerrero, to be honest.
right.
So, you know, I was already in the process of leaving. I was still in the process of leaving, kind of getting my things together to leave the island to further my future. So it's kind of like, if I wasn't, he lost. He would have left the island, and that was legit a shoe coin. And he got lucky. He lucky. He knew he's lucky that even though we had our differences, I loved him. You know, I love him. So we kept him there.
And I honestly, I absolutely, I love that. You know, even with your differences, there's respect and love there.
Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt with that man. With him, like I said, I even consider him family. Again, it's funny I say that because he found me really annoying at the very beginning. So it's crazy how our relationship sprouted from there.
Dude, that is family. If you don't find a
Yeah.
family member annoying, then you're not family.
But that's true. But the annoyance came before I became a wrestler. That's the funny thing about it. You know, I was asking questions because I was so into the business. I was like, hey, how you do this? How you do that? Can't talk to you after the show. Can't talk do this. And there's one time he gave me a wrong date for a show, and I went all the way downtown Naha, which is from where I lived. I think it was roughly like 40 minutes. It was a drive.
Mm.
I went all the way down to the location that he told me the wrestling show would be in, and it wasn't happening there. I called them a couple calls. First of all, he didn't pick up my first call. It was a couple calls, and I called them, and I was like, "Where you guys? Basically, where you guys at? Like, I'm here." He's like, "Oh, our show is tomorrow." So you told me Saturday. He's like, that was my mistake. I drove back and drove back that next day to watch the show. So I guess that much fire that I had, that much determination that I had, kind of showed him how serious I was about entering the business. And so that's part of that kind of persistence and annoyance is part of what got him to give me a call when he was trying to form MDC.
Alright. Now, you mentioned it. You're a second generation wrestler.
Yes.
What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of being a second gen wrestler?
So being a second gen wrestler, if people know that you are realistically, because I don't really announce that I was, but that people that I know, I guess that people expect you to be. I grasped the concept of pro wrestling very quick. You know, when I guess people expected me not to know much. And so that was the benefit of it because I kind of already knew the business in a way. But my grandfather passed before I can actually pick his brain.
Ooh.
Yeah, he passed away because in high school I did the amateur wrestling. And so when I told him I was wrestling, he thought I was doing pro wrestling. He got so excited, but he realized I wasn't doing that. But then he would talk to me, and I talked to him, and he would talk to me as if I was a pro wrestler, and not make any sense. And I talked to my mom, and she told me that's what he used to do back in Puerto Rico, and I never knew that. And I think I was like 13 or 14 at the time, so I was even surprised. And I've been a wrestling fan since I was young. So, watching Edge, watching The Rock, watching even WCW. Like I grew up watching wrestling, so it's crazy to know that a family member of mine was a pro wrestler without me even knowing. And so he would still talk to me, but I thought he was talking to me as a fan. So it was weird because he would tell me like, you do this, you do that, and I'm like, I'm laughing because he's like, he's really into pro wrestling, and that part I didn't know that either. But come to find out, like he was a pro wrestler. My uncle and my mom would tell me stories about his time pro wrestling, and like as they were kids, and that's the horrors they used to feel like when he come back hurt and injured and stuff like that. But yeah, that's I guess being a second generation when no one knows, it's they say, oh, this guy is good, this guy does good work, and that's lucky, fortunate enough because of the knowledge. But when people know that I'm a second generation wrestler, they be like, okay, that makes sense, or they expect a lot more from you because like you should kind of already know already. So yeah, so it has its pros and cons.
All right. Can you tell us about your sword?
My sword. So I walked by a booth one time to learn about my family name, and when you do the search, it's not like blood, but it's like just the family crest and family name. I went to look for mine, and my last name derived from Spain, and so they gave me a sword that a Spain knight. I don't know if it was a knight, but the term, like whatever the symbolism of them is, or like the similarity to them is. That sword came with a crest, and then it gave me like kind of like a rough history of what that name came from and where the name derived. And so when that's before I had the Cuervo moniker, but then when I inherited it, I always had this warrior firing spirit, and then one day I just saw that sword, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna make it part of my, my character, because, I respect family, I respect the name, and every warrior needs a sword, right? Every warrior needs a sword. So yeah, but that's where the sword came from.
Hypothetically speaking, in the future, you versus Drew McIntyre in a sword fight?
I would love to. That'd be a dream, to be honest. I'm a big fan of Drew McIntyre. I'm a very big fan of his. Definitely that when he was going through his return to WWE, and then he pretty much built himself back to like to believe like the chosen one. He put himself out there and he built it, and like, oh, that'd be all awesome. That'd be two wars colliding. He'll be my David, he'll be my Goliath to the David, like a Ray to their Batista. So I think that'd be an amazing experience, to be honest. So Drew McIntyre, if somehow you end up listening to this, hey, I'm very interested, and it'll be an honor to go 1-on-1 against you. But, yeah.
I think that brings us to our next segment. El Guerrero Cuervo's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes down the roads and weird, crazy, and bizarre things about to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh, sorry. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Can you tell us a weird, crazy, or bizarre, funny road story?
A road story. Hooey. I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, a lot of them actually happened in Japan, and when I was doing tours in mainland. So I'll go to probably like the crazy one later, but I'll say one of the common ones that I found hilarious every time I dealt with in Japan was one thing that you're taught is that as a new guy, young lion, whatever term you want to use, is that you always need to ask like the person you're wrestling or the most senior person in the room, because like in Japan, the whole like rank structure, not you say rank structure, like kind of like the hierarchy and the rank structure of wherever they fall, if they're the promoter, whatever the case would be. And it's like over there, like I'm assuming it's big here as well in the United States, but over there it's a whole different level. Like it's crazy of the level of loyalty and respect they have over there.
Right.
And so I remember one time I did a show with not New Japan, it was Dragon Gate.
Okay.
They came to Okinawa, and they were like, Gurukin tells me, he's like, I went to help him set the ring up because I was still a new guy. I was setting the ring up, helping him with the event, and they told me like, hey, they picked Dingo And I don't know if because of Dingo they chose me, or they're like, but they were like, you got you got a match today. I'm like, oh snap! But luckily I got my gear in me because they didn't tell me anything about a match. That was just random. And so, because it's it's always the number one golden rule with wrestlers: always bring your gear everywhere you go.
Right.
So yeah. So I got ready, had a match, and then I go to the one of the guys, and I was like, sumimasen, and my Japanese at the time is very terrible, and my Japanese is still not good to this day. But I basically asked him, how was the match, and he goes, They love their grunting, by the way. They like to hum and grunt the entire way. They're like, Sugoi, hi, good. And that was it. So I stood there like, arigato gozaimasu, arigato. And I walked away. And then my friend Dingo says, what did he say to you? He said it was good. that's all he gave me. That's all he gave me. But he's like, did he do anything after? He's like, he was grunting a lot. He was grunting a lot. So he was either analyzing the match that we just had, or he's really trying to find the proper English word to tell me other than good. I don't know. But that was funny. Yeah, it's crazy to just try and put some crazy stories one time. I don't know. I'm trying. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I think it's pretty much like that. It's walking around Japan. Like half the time, like I when I walked, definitely I didn't walk with Dingo, I would be lost. So we'll be in the hotel. They'll be in the hotel room or wherever we're at, and they always ask me where have I been. And I'm like, to be honest, I can't tell you because I've been lost this entire time. So that happened a lot when we went to mainland. We went to I think the place was Nara, was the area, but I was like, yeah, I don't have no idea. And some areas in the spots were like very spotty, so it was kind of like they were like, "Oh man, like where you been? Like, did you go here, and here?" And they were like, "No." I told them not they. I was like, "No, I didn't go anywhere." It's like, "What do you mean?" Like, I went everywhere. I was lost. I was lost half the time, and it'd be like 2, 3 in the morning, and we got a show in a couple hours. So that was painful.
It could get a little mazy in Japan just with as many streets there are there.
Yeah, and also depends. Like people always associate Japan with like Tokyo, mainly like Tokyo, Kyoto, like the major areas.
Right.
But Japan has a lot of countryside. Like one place that I went to was Yamaguchi, which is very quiet out there, and it was the hot springs that I went to, like the ones that the bathhouses I've been to, that were very nice that I went to. I guess another funny story was when we were walking around and there was this group here. There was a group, like a little club, I guess, but it was only exclusive to whatever they were doing. I have zero idea what they were doing. It was just nice compared to the entire area. It was very quiet. There was just one little room, not a room, but it was like a little building, and there was like a glass door, and it was like lights, like disco lights, everywhere. And then I was like, we want to see what's that, So it was me and Dingo going. And they're like, sorry, they don't. It's an exclusive party, and they know as nice as they can. Like, you're not allowed, basically. And all we had to say was, we're wrestlers. And they were like, oh, wrestlers, prove it. And then my friend had a poster. Dingo had a poster and showed them. Like, that's us right there. They're like, and there was like I guess the lady that was hosting was like a very nice lady. Hosting like, oh, in Japanese, wrestler. And we're like, hi. They're like, sugoi. Hi, and they're like, Nihongo. I think she said Nihongo shimasu. Like, if I can speak Japanese. And I was like, skoshi, a little bit. They were like, ego. And I was like, hi. And they're like, okay, Inga, come in. And we just had a good time. It was a fun time. There's a lot of muscle flexing because that's one thing I think a lot of Japanese people like to do. Definitely, they like when the wrestlers are around. They like wrestlers to flex muscles all the time. Definitely the ladies. Definitely the ladies. They're always amazed.
Now is and by the way, fantastic stories for sure. I absolutely love those. Um, is there any significance to the tattoo on your left shoulder?
My left shoulder. So the cross.
Yes.
So that's to me that's the Warrior's Cross. So the significance between that is you know being of Christianity because I'm Christian. Um, that every warrior walks a path, and every definitely being a servant of the Father and all that stuff. We do our best, to walk the path that God attends us to. But as a warrior's case, you go out there and you fight these battles, and sometimes these battles aren't easy. Sometimes we get our hands dirty, even just trying to walk in the proper path. So that's what the sword represents, like my devotion, to the Father and to my Savior. But at the same time, the black tribal stuff around it represents like the I usually the dirt, the darkness that can surround even such a warrior, because we're not all perfect. I will bite the, I will bet any Christian that comes out there and says that they're perfect. That's not the case. We're not all perfect. We strive to be, but we're not. So, but that's what I'm saying. Being a warrior of the Father and also being a warrior in my life in general. I'm going to make decisions that would not be a very popular decision. So, yeah, that's pretty much the significance of it.
Honestly, that's fantastic. How long did it take for you to get that done?
That whole thing took me one session. So we just did yeah. That was very. I think that was my second tattoo. The first one was the first one was the wolf crest, the family crest on my upper right. With the wolf, with the family respect and pride. That was my first one. Then I was like, man, I like tattoos. So I got another one. Yeah, we did it. We did it in one setting. I was, yeah. And that didn't hurt. Those tattoos really didn't hurt. I think the one that got me the most was probably the ones within my arm, like in inner bicep, like the peace and the faith. Oh boy, I felt that down my chest into my my ribs, even though that thing wasn't even touching nowhere near it.
That's
So
what the nerves are in there.
yeah. So yeah.
Is there any plans for new ink?
I want to, but what's been holding me back is actually pro wrestling, because maybe unless I get injured and I need time off, then I get a tattoo. But I don't want to get a tattoo and then be like, oh, now I can't wrestle because I have to let the ink, I don't want to risk infections or whatever the case would be. For I guess any pro wrestlers out there want to hit me up on my social media and let me know there's a trick to the trade. But I do not want to get ink and then have to start to wrestle for it to heal. Like I'm really in love with that the business. Like if I can't choose to miss a day, I won't.
Okay, I see. Alright. Now I'm not even sure if you know about this. You were featured on a 5-year-old's birthday cake in Japan with the rest of the members of MDC. I'm not sure if you've seen the pictures, but now knowing that information, what does that kind of mean to you?
Wow. I try to recall. See, I feel like I recall it. I wasn't there for that moment, but I think it was like an NBC overall NBC like birthday party. I wasn't there, but that's an honor. You know. One thing I learned in being in business is that being a good guy or bad guy, whatever how people want to label you, right? When people say baby face or heel, whatever the term people want to label you as, like the kids, that's what I do it for, man. I grew up with a family, I grew up with family. I have family of my own, and so like putting a smile on kids' face and them actually loving what you do and respect what you do, it's probably the most satisfying thing about the business, to be honest. And to have somebody put my face put my face on a cake and later on eating it, but put my face on the cake nonetheless. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling, to be honest. It's an honor to hear anything in that regard. Yeah, and luckily I've been fortunate enough to actually witness some things. People, a fan drew me a picture of myself, drew a picture of me, gave it to me before I left Okinawa. There was a I think she was 14 years old, 13-year-old girl. She was singing. She was at one of the Ryukyu driving shows. They had like the intermission, and they allowed a band to speak. And not allowed to speak. Not a fan, but allowed this person to sing in the intermission. And Dingo told me that this girl is a fan of yours, and I didn't know that. So, I walked up to her, and she collapsed to the ground, crying. And I thought I did something wrong. I like, oh my God, like it's like no, you're so cool. That's all she said was, you're so cool. And then her I guess her manager, whoever was in charge of her, came to me and spoke to me, and he spoke very well good English. He explained to me that she's a big fan of yours. She thinks you're cool, your matches is cool, and she was just very happy that somebody like me will come up to her, take a picture with her. I still have her picture with me and MDC in my workspace at home. So yeah, stuff like that is amazing. Like having people like that like love your work and love you, and they don't even know you. These are strangers, you know what I mean? And it's just they admire your piece, your work. Because again, wrestlers, we're athletes and all, but we're also artists. And having somebody admire your work, it's a great feeling.
Actually, sent you the picture in your DMs. You can check that out.
Let me check this out. Oh, yeah. Okay, I recall this. Yeah, yeah. Those. I think I exactly know that this kid specifically wore NBC shirts every single time. You will not catch him dead wearing anything other than those NBC shirts. I know exactly the kid. Yeah, oh, that's my buddy Tita. That's the guy on the upper left right there with the orange and black mask. Tita Heat. Great guy. Yeah, Dingo on the bottom.
Both designed, I would say.
This is actually a very good cake. I need to find out who did this so I can have my cake done like that too. Maybe have yeah. That'd be awesome.
Hey, can you tell us about your love of Kojima games?
Say again?
Could you tell us about your love of Kojima games?
I can't catch the last one. I'm sorry. Coaching what again?
Kojima, the video games. His video games.
Oh, Kojima. Oh, Hideo Kojima games. Ah, man. Well, I guess anybody that does it within my generation, I guess I'm a millennial. So we grew up with Nintendo games. So like games, Metal Gear Solid. I wasn't a big fan of what's it called? The one that when he departed from Konami, he made that one game. I can't recall. It had that guy from Walking Dead.
Death Stranding, I believe.
Death Stranding. To me, it was a different experience. So I won't knock the game. It was right now. One thing Kojima does very well is really he makes some cinematic games. Like it's like playing a movie. But Metal Gear Solid has always been dear to my heart. Those games were even the lowest ones. Like people didn't like. I think it's called Revengeance, the ninja one with Raiden. Well, made by Platinum Games. I love that game. Just he made these characters. These characters it was like trying to be grounded, but very like sci-fi-ish. With these big mechs. I'm a mech guy. I love mechs. I love Gundam. I love any sort of like mech anime or whatever. It's like anything with machines and robots, like Pacific Rim. I love it. so making this thing, making these like grounded situations to these larger than life characters, and it's amazing. So Kojima, phenomenal. If he wants to make a Cuervo game, I'll be down. Make me like a ninja, make me like some sort of ninja. I'll take it. But
Don't hold me to it, but I think the next project is like a space video game.
yeah, I think I've seen that one too. Starlight, I think it is.
Yeah,
I can't.
something like that.
Yeah, I'm down to play it too. I'm anything that he comes out with, regardless if I think the title may be good or not. Like even Death Stranding 2, I think he announced that there's gonna be a sequel to it. I'm gonna play it, because it is him. And
Right.
he produces some good games, or at least visually looks amazing. And I think I gave Death Stranding a second chance too. So I enjoyed the game for what it was, but like it doesn't, in comparison to Metal Gear, it doesn't
But
nowhere close. Yeah.
well, you actually want to make your own video game, correct?
Yeah, I actually attempted one time. I attempted. I made a platformer. Tried to do a platformer. I used Unity, and I know. And you probably ask these questions, be like, "Man, this guy does everything." I try not to be bored. That's one thing I don't like to do. I like to be bored. But yeah, I tried to. The issue was I put in a code that wasn't working. I don't know anything about programming, so I had to learn on the fly. And so I would put this code down, and I would have guys, that friends that I knew that were programmers. That one guy made a game of his own. It wasn't a big game, but he kind of understood the language and stuff like that. So he looked through my stuff, like, "Hey, this should be working." And then we were playing around with it, and then one little thing, I think I added one thing and crashed my entire game.
Ooh.
And I was so mind blown. So I would erase it and it'll work, but then I add this code and it'll go. It was something as simple as adding hit points and a life bar to make it work and function that way. That was the whole purpose. Like that's what caused. So I don't know, and I don't want to blame Unity, but I always tell people like probably was a Unity update that like these certain codes, because he said typically the guy that did it was like, this is supposed to work and it's not working. So I was like, I don't know. So I even looked online. Even the guy's code that I used still didn't work. So I let it be. I haven't got the motivation back to do it again, because again, like it was, for a month. I think it took me like a month or almost a month and a half to make my character move, and I was so happy that I drew this character, made this character, designed this character, and I'm able to make him move with the computer. It was amazing. It was a great feeling. But then the game crashed and just completely deflated me quick. So I was like, maybe I should just, take it a break and then come back to it when I get the motivation to do it.
One of our other guests actually had a platformer video game that he had somebody make for him, and he is the character in the video game. So you never know. Maybe we'll see an Guerrero Cuervo video game down the line.
Maybe. Or maybe they could just make a Ninja Gaiden game, maybe make a skin of me. I think I fit the profile pretty well. Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be amazing. Or put me as a Smash Brother character and just make a human-sized crow like the guy from Star Fox. Falcon and things like that.
If you play video games on like a laptop, it's not out of the realms of possibility for somebody just to make a character that you could just add to the code afterwards.
That's true. Yeah, I think I've been on PC for 3 years now. I was a big console guy, and I still am a console guy, but I do play on PC, and I've seen some amazing work on people with their mods and what they add, and I'm like, man, this is amazing. Yep. Luckily, I'm not that smart enough to do that, so I know it won't be for me.
Same here. Can you tell us about your love of Gundam and mechs?
Gundam. Oof. I grew up with Toonami. I grew up with Cartoon Network, Toonami. And I think my very first anime was actually Dragon Ball. I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan, by the way, too. For any anime nerds out there, I'm a big Dragon Ball Z.
I mean, who isn't?
That's true. That's probably one of the reasons why I got into a lot of the fighting, too. Because, you see Goku, Vegeta, all of them. But
yeah.
to go Gundam, I think it was Mobile Suit Gundam. And then I think it's Gundam Wing. I think it's the one I watched, and I don't know, like it's just an idea of something being so big, and a person piloting such a thing. Because I'm also a big Power Rangers guy, and I never understood how the 5 Rangers control the limbs of the Zords ever, because it's like, I get it, everybody controls the animals or whatever the things are called by themselves, but when they come one, who controls what? I'm pretty sure it takes a while to control the legs,
Right.
So it's like, but like in Gundam, it's like one person controlling this big mech, and so I got into that, got into Armored Core. Well, there's another game like BattleTech. I'm trying to remember the Mech Warrior. So I got into that, just the idea of like controlling. If the military ever came with something like that, or whoever organization came with a mech pilot thing, I'll probably just go ahead and just get my license to become one. It's just a fascinating idea. It's crazy though. People ask me like, do I find planes, piloting a plane fascinating? I was like, no, I don't think you'll catch me flying a plane. But if you put me inside like an exosuit or a mech, I would more gladly learn whatever I need to learn to be a pilot of that. That'd be an amazing experience.
Dragon Ball Z. What's your favorite arc or saga?
I would say the Cell arc, to be honest. Cell
Yeah.
arc. I say because one, Gohan was my favorite character, and I know they dropped him so hard after that arc. But Gohan, I think they did pretty good with Buu until Buu absorbed them. But Gohan was my favorite character, and I just feel like the whole Cell games, like how childish the villain was too. Like he was a very intellectual character, but yet very childish, because he was technically still not that old, and so he was like, he had this whole concept of he can beat anybody. And so I found that pretty much, I don't think people saw it this way, but it's like two kids fighting each other. Gohan was a teenager. You got Cell, that's an android. He looks like an adult, but he acted like a child. He was so cocky in his ability to think he could beat anybody. And so, that's why I find the relationship. Go ahead.
Continue.
That's why I find the relationship between Piccolo and him, Gohan, so fascinating. Because Piccolo's an older guy physically, but he's technically a child, probably roughly the same age as Gohan.
I mean, I feel like Piccolo was more of a father to Gohan than Goku actually was.
Yeah, I see. But to be a father, be respectful, he has to be present. Goku died. Somebody sacrifices. This guy died so many times. And it's a different style. That's actually, always wanted to figure out like the mentality of Piccolo, because he's Namekian, and a lot of the Namekians are, at least the ones from Namek are very careful, like very like nice people, I guess, besides Lord Slug, even though he's not canon, but he was also Namekian that was evil. But besides that, it also has to do to the clans. So I think there's multiple clans in the Namekians. But the only clan that's shown is the one that you see in the Namek. I don't know. So hopefully they explore that further. But yeah, Piccolo, he came to his own. And he was. They grew up together. I feel like they're more like brothers. I don't say a father figure. I just feel like Piccolo's probably more of an older brother, because he was more, even though I told you, like, he was the same age as Gohan, right? And so he found the love towards Gohan, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily say a father. I would say more like a big brother that was present when and that's basically what sometimes older brothers become, kind of like the surrogate father when the dad is not present or the dad's not there to be in the home. So the older brother takes. I feel like that's why I feel like it's more of what Piccolo became. But yeah, Goku dropped the ball too many times. He loves fighting. I can probably contest with him. Like, he loves to fight. I can understand that. He put the entire Universe 7 at risk because he just wants to test out his strength. It's he does some questionable stuff. But he is a Saiyan after all.
I just take, if I'm being honest, I just take Dragon Ball Super as non-canon extra stuff that is being produced. Dragon Ball Z is always going to be the main. So I just try to enjoy Super without it being thinking that it's actually canon. You know what I mean?
No, I got you. I would like to accept Super as a canon line, and the reason why I say that's because the most developed character is probably Vegeta, and it's crazy to see how he changed so far. Like the part with in the movie or even in the show where he's like, "That's my Bulma," when Beerus, the guy that he feared, right? The guy at the show, he feared him, and then he smacks Bulma, and Vegeto's like, "That's my Bulma." Goes, rage mode, and
Yeah.
I think I'm fascinating. I do want to see where they take it after this, because I do read the manga, so there's like the moral arc, and also I do hope to see where they take it. I just hope the anime doesn't fall too far off of the book, because I do enjoy the manga. The mangas are pretty decent right now. But Z will always be the father one,
Oh yeah.
for sure. If I can rate them, I'll probably go DBZ and then Dragon Ball, and then Super. And GT's obviously last. I don't mind GT. Like, I don't bash it like people bash it, because I think that Super 17 was probably genius. Like, that's probably one of my favorite villains too, is Super 17. But yeah.
Alright. Well, it's time for the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first three songs on the El Guerrero Cuervo movie soundtrack?
Oh, that's tough. That's very tough. Because I like all music, and so it's kind of tough to see the vibe, right? I feel like rock music gets my vibe more.
Okay.
However, I do like salsa, so that's maybe a mix of that rock and salsa. I don't know. Songs, that's tough. Hmm. That's tough. What I can tell you is probably the people that would love to see make music for my soundtrack will be Mark Anthony, uh, Don Ahmad. That's another one.
Okay.
And this is hard. This one's hard for the rock side. This is very hard because so I should go with hip hop. Like, if I can do hip hop and he was still alive, I would say Tech Nine. Tech Nine would probably have to be, like, if I had to go hip hop, like, be an artist, I would love to make a soundtrack of mine. And then I think a rock band that gets the Hispanic essence of it. I think they changed the lead singer, but I think they still get it. It's Il Nino.
Okay.
That's actually one of my original when I first started the business. They asked me what I wanted, and I picked one of their songs. But yeah, El Nino is that band. It's probably because they mix their Spanish, like, like congas and stuff like that with the music, and it sounds legit when you hear rock and you just hear that Spanish, and you hear like an acoustic guitar with the congas. That's my favorite sound.
Those are solid picks. I think you're the first person to say I want these people to make original songs for my movie.
Yeah, because people pick soundtracks, and I get it. Like, I'll have a lot of music I could probably do, but it's like I would love. It'll be an honor. It'll be an honor enough to have any of them even like say like, hey, we want to make your entrance music for wrestling. I'll be mind blown. That'd be amazing. But yeah, so it's those artists. I feel like I cannot go wrong if I choose those individuals to make music. Like, if I feel like if I kind of like how everybody uses the AI stuff nowadays, I feel like this is just what the vibe, and this is the sound. This is what I want, and because they're so good at what they do. I think they'll get it right the first time, to be honest.
Alright.
But I don't know anything about the music business, so it probably takes more than that one time. So
Well, now that we got the soundtrack down, who plays you? And you can't say yourself because you're obligated to make a Stanley as a cameo.
yeah, okay. Oof. If I would be a biopic, 'cause I feel like a lot of funny stuff happens in my life, but the actor can be serious, I'll probably say Michael Pena. Even though I'm Puerto Rican, he's Mexican. I think he can. I think he could do it.
Okay, solid pick. And now every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be three people in your movie, and who would play them?
So Dog Dingo for sure. Who will play him? I hope he doesn't get mad at me if I find somebody that's not worthy of his presence in the movie. Let me see. Dog Dingo. Hmm. Oh man, I don't know much Australian actors, but he's an Australian dude. I'm trying to think who can be a very Australian hard hitter. Because to be fair, Don Dude's not a tall person, so I can't say Hugh Jackman. I would love to say Hugh Jackman.
I mean, you could
You
say
know,
Hugh Jackman. I think he would take that as a compliment.
then I'll say Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
I'll say Hugh Jackman for Dingo. Uh, hmm. Hmm.
I mean, you could pick anybody.
I know it's tough, you know. I'm trying to find crucial people in my life. Dingo's one. I'll say would probably be my mom. And if I would had to pick somebody from my mom, and I had to choose somebody, and I think, like, really sick, I think the only actress that comes in my mind is what's her? How you say her name? Let's see.
What was she in?
She was a Jane the Virgin. She was a show that one of my friends loved watching, and she said that this lady reminds me of my mom.
Rita Wilson?
Yvonne Cole.
Okay.
So her, I will say her, Yvonne Cole. And then maybe you know, because she has such a bubbly personality, maybe Justina Mercado. You know,
Okay.
maybe we don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
Alright. It is sounding like a great movie. And you could pre-order the tickets now.
That'd be amazing. Yeah. So a question for you then: if I'm doing my cameo, what would I be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe somebody that comes to yourself that tells you that vital information that gets you going.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that.
Or maybe like what movie was it? Well, he's in his mind, and like that famous singer comes to him, and they're like on a bench in a void.
I think I know. I may know what you're talking about.
The
I
John
think.
Cusack movie.
Yeah. Don't know the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe come to moment. Yeah. I could see that.
Onto a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I love it. I'm sorry for anybody that hates it. I love pineapple on pizza. I love pizza in general, so that's what makes it hard. But I love pineapple on pizza.
Okay. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Spirit Pokemon. Oof. Okay, so my favorite Pokemon is Squirtle. Actually, no, I lie. It's Mudkip or Swampert.
Okay.
That's my favorite. It's a water type ground, and it gets in a very muddy situation every time. So Swampert. But if I had to say that fits my personality, I feel like Charizard. I feel like the Charizard that Ash has specifically, that one, the one that doesn't like to listen to him.
Right.
Because I feel like at least at the beginning of my career with Dingo, trying to guide me, like I got so high headed I ignored him through my matches, and I feel bad to this day to even admit that. I think he knows it. I think he knows, because he would definitely talk to me in the back, like, "What was that?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I lost. I got hot. I'm sorry."
Right. Oh, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
THUG. I do not.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. Because a Doug can't spell.
Oh, okay.
We love the late great Tracy Smothers, trying to keep the memory alive.
All right.
And the weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully, would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical rock.
I would say no because I would lose most likely.
What makes you say that?
Okay, let's put it in perspective, right? Let's get this rock. All right. I can't grip it too well, right? Besides with one hand. And we're not going to talk about the size of the rock, right? If it's a big rock, I'm strong, but let's be realistic. And then a little rock, let's say I throw it for to the ropes, it comes back worse. Like, and then if I do a splash on the rock, that's going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt the rock. And even if I attempt to pin, if it is a very sharp and edgy rock, it hurts to even be. I probably won't even pin attempt it. Yeah, I'm gonna lose. I feel like I'm probably gonna step out the ring and just let the count not happen because the rock's not gonna come after me. So, yeah, I think the rock. So no to your question because I would lose, most likely.
Just for context, there is this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled in actual rock for over 15 minutes in an Iron Man match that lasted for 2 weeks.
Who won?
The Rock.
My point exactly.
Right. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, so hopefully, probably, if things goes well here, like I'm currently in California, maybe move to California and just become, just make a name, like make a name for myself, like. I strive to always be the best. People ask me if I strive to be like in WWE, AEW, or any sort of big like Impact, and I do. Like, don't get me wrong, because I feel like you bring a disservice or disrespect to the business if you don't try to be the best in any sort of promotion you're in.
Yeah.
But for me, I would like to be in a position to I'm well known at least at minimum, so that like to be honest, like if I ever decide to hang up the boots and really on the word boots, I wear shoes, but. Just use that analogy and the mask that I can train whoever I can train to better them in their ventures to pro wrestling because this is a tough business.
Oh yeah.
And if you're not dealing with the wrestlers, you're dealing with the politics, and it can get really, 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 really draining and beaten down for it. So I will say in 5 years I would like to be well known within the West, like within Hawaii. I'm decent known. Like I said, I'm decently known in Japan. I still got fans out there, and I will say probably in California because there's a lot of promotions out here. To where like if I can tell somebody, like, hey man, this kid has it, that my word would take him because I have that happen with me too. With good friends that are in positions like that. That like, hey, hey, you want looking for some work? It's like, yeah. It's like, hey, I have this spot for you. And they put in good work for me. So I kind of want to, in return, give the next person that decides to go on this adventure that same opportunity, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And what's something else people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what El Guerrero Cuervo is all about?
That's a good question, to be honest. I'll say one thing I neglected myself to do is when I go to promotions and, ask for certain things like videos, stuff like that. So I'm not sure, to be honest. Like cause I don't really look after. I don't really look to myself at all. But maybe if you go to like an old, like if anybody catches themselves in Japan, go to Ryukyu Dog and they still sell the DVDs that they used to. I don't know if they still do. They do. Like maybe find an old DVD that's with me there. Maybe my debut match. I was very proud of that match specifically, only because usually the debut matches, people don't do well, and I was highly praised for how well I did my first time ever in the ring with my opponent, and so and definitely having Dingo tell me that I did very well, that was a big honor. Like I represent MDC and represent him, so it was a big honor for him to come to me. He's like, man, that's part. He's like, he told me his words. Your match is probably one of the first, if not the first match I've ever seen that's probably the best debut match I've seen. overall. And just hearing that was amazing. It was amazing.
But how many times did he grunt before he told you that?
Well, luckily Dingo is Australian, so they don't grunt. They say might. They say a lot of might. So yeah, might. No, but yeah, the Dingo. Luckily he didn't grunt. If you talk about Gorukin Mask and maybe Hibiscus, even though she's a woman, Hibiscus is a woman. She'll give you the a lot of They love their humming and their grunting. They think. They like you. They like for you to know that they're thinking. And I'm not saying to knock them off. Like I love like the Japanese peoples, and the time that I was there, it was an amazing feeling, man. Like they love the sport. Like they love, it's they kind of when they watch wrestling. I don't know if you ever watched like a New Japan show, but when they watch wrestling, it's like golf. They quiet until something amazing happens because they respect. They don't believe in talking while they're watching the magic happen in the ring.
Right.
So that's one thing that's different compared to US. US, you hear a bunch of guys, yeah, you suck, and they yell as your match is going. But the Japanese, no, it's almost as if there's like a box on top telling them when to cheer, because they're that in sync with one another,
Right.
and they know when to cheer for their group because they don't want to interrupt the wrestlers while they when they're there wrestling. And it's an experience. Any American wrestler that went out there that I met, they always say that it's a whole different crowd, and it's a must experienced experience. It has to be experienced because it's amazing. But I would say that.
Is there a match on YouTube you could find of yours that people could see?
There is one current. There's one. I think it was a fairly good match. I think was. I think it's a good match because the guy that I wrestle is he's a good guy. He's a good individual that I know from in here in California. It's a EWF. It was a show at the church. 'Cause that's one thing I do love to do is like festivals and church shows because it's like giving back to them.
Yeah.
EWF had a show, and let me see. I can pop it up for you. I always give you a direct name to that match so I don't lead you all astray.
Is it on your YouTube page?
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's on my YouTube page. I think I have basically on my page itself. What I need to do, I need to start grabbing some of my videos and put on my own page. But I think on that page specifically, I only have that one match. And yeah, I'll say that. That one.
Grab that match from your YouTube page, and I'll put it in the description of the video below for anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it. We see it after this interview.
Yeah, Richie Slade is the guy.
Okay.
EWF's Richie Slade.
And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Oh, 8 questions of doom.
This is
is this like The Rock though? Because if it's The Rock, I'm gonna lose this. I hope not.
Well, this is our speed round or bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Oh man, oof! You put me on the spot. Maybe. Let's go.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Eddie Guerrero.
Worst wrestler.
Worst wrestler. Oh. I wasn't a fan. Can it be like past wrestlers too, like back in the day? Worst wrestler. It's kind of tough because I think every wrestler is good at something. As something, to be honest, it's tough. Worst wrestler, me. It's kind of hard to put somebody out there.
No,
let me
can't
see.
Say yourself.
Okay. Worst wrestler.
Would you like the default answer?
Yes, give me a default answer. See if I agree with you.
You have chosen Eva Marie.
Okay, to be honest, I'm not a fan of hers. Eva, I'm not saying you as a person. I don't know how you are as a person, but I will actually have to go with this. Yeah, I do agree. I was not a fan of Eva Marie.
Right. And that's why she's the default answer. Your main event in WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
World champion? Who is my opponent? Oh my God! If he's still there, it'd probably be Randy Orton.
Yeah. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Shinsuke Nakamura.
The Japanese or the WWE?
They're both good. I would say WWE because I love the violin, so
Okay,
it's like
I got you. Alright, finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
kayfabe is hanging by a thread.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable?
It's a fruit.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Tomato logic.
Yeah. It's true. Tomatoes are fruit.
But
That's
you
correct.
are part of Squash Squad now, and that means a hell of a lot more.
Great. Let's go.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Oh, if you go for trunks, I would say it would have to be. I know. I think the style. I would say like Ric Flair, like that Ric Flair where you like don't see butt cheeks. Like it needs to be underneath the cheek.
So coverage.
Yeah, covered. There you go.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No, have not.
And that is the correct answer.
All right.
That will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. And once again, where can we find all things El Guerrero on social media?
Where you can find me again on what is that sound? Oh, I don't know. There's a sound popping up. I'm sorry. So on social media, you can find me on Twitter at El Cuervo _92, IG. You can see me at Guerrero Cuervo 12, and on Facebook, just gotta type my name at Guerrero Cuervo, and you'll find me. You know, there's only one handsome crow out there, and that's me. So, yeah.
And you don't even have to go looking for his social media. All of the links to all those sites will be in the description of the video below or on YouTube and Castbox. Simply go to the description, click the link, and you have a look here on whatever device you're on. You have no excuse. Give him a damn follow.
All right. Thank you very much. And again, thank you, Wrestling with Entertainment, for this opportunity. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. And of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. We're on YouTube and Castbox. Of course, this is sponsored by Rose Energy and Clear One Coffee. Join us tomorrow for a new verbal interview. And follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on Twitter and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. You can follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, Guerrero, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
All right.
For our very special guest, El Guerrero Cuervo, Khalifa Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.